will try to make it not serious. This is the trickster. The trickster mindset, which is like people who are clowns, like they are psychologically clowns, and they hate anything that is serious. It is like threatening to their insecurities because it reflects themselves. And Maga is one of these tricksters.
Might say.
Sam,
wait, can I respond? Like, I feel like there's a stack of things I need to respond to. I don't know.
No, like, because you're not even being serious. You're just trolling.
Yeah, Deepak, please go.
Oh. Yeah, no. I'm really confused now because like Sophie was bringing up some of these interactions she's had in the past, where like she was hanging out with people without any purpose or like or greater aim or whatever, right? And
my aim is to create artistic value. I'm sorry, you did not understand.
There's no interrupts that are allowed. Remember, just speak there.
Let's just
you didn't say that part.
Let's just voice over.
Okay, well, you didn't say that part, right? But you did say that, like, like some of these relationships have to be transactional, right? Like, so that's, if I were trolling, right, wouldn't this be just one of those examples? Like, wouldn't this just be my weak attempt, right, at recreating something like that, right?
Not when the whole room really wants to have a really good conversation and you're treating it as a joke. That's like
you can talk about other stuff, right? Like this Stark guy comes on stage and calls me a creep and stuff, and then
you're being a creep,
Phoenix wants to do some clinical psychology on me that I didn't pay for. By the way,
I came in this room because Sam, like you told me about your philosophy, like ho jump rumbo jumbo, and I get what Deepak is saying, but I guess the people in this room really love spaces where they can talk about things and not treat it as like a game or like a joke. And this person has literally just said that he is doing that and that's his form of play or making a connection. So the choice is yours. This is your house. This is your club. I feel like the conversation was great. There's people in here that I wanted to get to hear and I can't because Deepak is like trolling the shit out of the room. So
is this a conversational micro insult? Are you projecting?
That's actually legit.
A little levity goes a long way if it's a serious conversation, but I guess you're right. You don't want it to be all, like, completely silly. Well, Deepak adds just levity and he also adds edifying things too. No?
Oh, I don't know about that part.
One thing I'll say is interesting is that when I was, like, happy and good with happy in my romantic relationships, having friends with women was totally great and wonderful in so many ways. But when I was feeling like miserable and alone, my friendships with women actually weren't kind of toxic because I was like gonna be needy and it like wasn't good for me because I didn't want to date them and they wouldn't want to date me back, and my neediness would be like a sort of like cycle in itself, and then that would be making me even more unattractive. And so like I think kind of you should like look at yourself and be like, hey, are you in a mental state where it's like healthy for you to be friends with women? And like I'd also say that like on the flip side, if you're meeting a guy and he's feeling like lonely and desperate, like you don't have to do this, but if you like actually care about him, like there's probably things you can do to like help them out. Like if they have bad fashion, like help them get a makeover, or like if they have a hard time getting out there, like invite them to a club or something. Like so, like I don't know. I would say that like just be aware of yourself and just be aware of that your effects on others.
But that's kind of how this conversation started, right? I mentioned how sometimes I'm unsure if men realize how much being friends with women can help them get into the dating world.
Yeah, it definitely can, but it definitely doesn't help if they are not in a good mind space,
Wait, who isn't in a good mind space, the man or the woman?
The man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that goes for both men and women. Like if you're yourself, if you're like not in the good you're not mentally healthy, I feel like any friendship or any type of connection you make is gonna not be at its like normality or peak, It's basically take care of yourself first before you start trying to make connections and friends and all of this shit, because it's and to answer your thing, Sam, I've been in a position where I tried to help out a guy that was a friend, and he ended up like ending the friendship because he had feelings for me, and no matter what, he just couldn't be around me because he had strong feelings for me, and I was just trying to help him. Level
my
up, go
friend.
out, talk to girls, introduce him to my girlfriends, and it was just like always me. So then at that point, I can't do shit but just be like, all right, we can't be friends, and that's it, and that happens. It's normal.
I'll kill you.
Excuse me, you don't belong in this tent.
But Sam,
What the fuck did you just say to me? You should get out of this tent. This isn't your tent. You should probably get out of the tent. You gonna touch me? You gonna find out? Come on, let me show you the exit. Damn, motherfucker, damn! And then their parents buy him a new house. He gets out on $250,000. He raises $1 million. It's like a whole fucking justice startup nonprofit.
Okay, literally. It's just coming
I
back.
told you, touch me and see what happens.
No, of course it's fine to have them have friends. I find
Cause I'm in a tent don't mean I'm a clown. Damn, white boy!
I had lost friends because their partner, like, you can't be friends with him anymore. And I was like, bro, you're such a fucking dweeb. Like, Jesus Christ.
The problem with having your spouse having too many friends of the opposite sex is that it means she has less time for friends of the same sex, right? Particularly the hot ones who are potential candidates for threesomes.
My best friend actually is an ex of mine. She's now married, and I went through this weird phase where, like, I couldn't adjust. Hold on a second, there's a timer. So I went through this phase where I was like adjusting a little bit to the friendship role, and it took a long time, but it was worth it. And now when I think about
he's this bitch's friend,
it's
and she's married.
Like a little awkward to even think about that, but it is definitely, like Sam was saying, if people are in the right headspace, it's good. But if someone like Sophie was saying, like the guy just can't get over, like wants to have a sexual relationship or romantic relationship, that's not good for him, and it's a good idea that probably he gives it some time. But it can happen for sure.
I mean, what do you think the statement "going clear" means? Or being translucent. I mean, you still have a memory of this sexual encounter, this relationship with that person. How do you let it go? I mean, your memory is not your best friend. So if you are emotionally distraught, I mean, I don't understand why somebody would want to be in a friend zone or even friends with an ex-girlfriend that you used to, have sexual relationships with who's now married. I'm just saying that, like, it's not about headspace. It's about letting go and essentially reprogramming yourself or overriding that former memory with new memories where you have multitudes of women in your memory and you say, oh, why am I so fixated on this one person? This is, a waste of thought, a waste of energy.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It's a reprogramming, I guess. But what helps is that you're able to say gross things to each other, or like you'll say anything. Like you'll describe certain things that probably you wouldn't want to describe to a romantic partner, and that kind of kills the romance and builds like a more friendship thing. I don't know, maybe that's a weird thing about me, but like someone tells you that they're giving themselves an enema or they're constipated, whatever, gross stuff. And yeah, that moves the needle towards the friend zone a lot. And I encourage people with your friends, share whatever you can.
Well, a lot of friends want to protect their private life, or maybe they are in a state of Zen. I mean, if you've raised your own personal enlightenment to a high level of consciousness, you collectively evolutionize the species. I mean, you create critical mass in the relationship.
I don't think being friends with exes is good. That's just personally. I don't think it's good. But that's personally my opinion. That's because one of the one, like you and your exes, like one of you guys are still gonna be like having those feelings. They're strong feelings, whether it was, you know, a long relationship or a short relationship, and you guys definitely fucked a lot, and you guys have memories together. It's really hard to just keep that person within your friend, you know. I mean, personally for me, because I've tried to stay friends with my exes, and 9 out of 10 times they will always like make a move whenever they see the next girl, and it's like, no, we were just friends, right?
Take you back to what is God. Thanks for tuning.
So personally for me, especially if I'm married, I would never talk to my exes. I mean, if it's important, yeah, but
That's wild to me.
the past is in the past, and that's why you have a new future. And in life, you just learn from everyone. Like your exes, you don't have to have like a bad outcome out of every ex. You can just use whatever you didn't like and then form it into what you do like in the future, and then level up. And it's not kind of like saying you're throwing away garbage in a way. It's just saying I'm done with this chapter, Sam. If I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying. I just think that's just not how I would operate. I just think that if I've loved someone, just because I can't, I don't love them in the same way, or I don't romantically love them, or I'm not having sex with them anymore, doesn't mean I can't appreciate things about them and have a friendship. I think it's a bit of a tragedy whenever I don't stay friends with ex-girlfriends. I just think like, yo, I thought you were cool. The reason why I dated you is not just because you're hot, it's because you're cool. So I want you in my life because you're cool. And so I feel sad whenever I stop being friends with exes.
I agree with that, but I've also dealt with similar experiences to what Lexi just shared, where I've thought and I've hoped I could be friends with exes that I just sincerely valued, and it's made me so sad to come to realizations that it wasn't possible, because they, there are just sometimes certain, I don't know, every dynamic is different, right? But I know that I certainly have had exes where I thought we were friends, we could be just friends, and now suddenly we're single and they're making a move on me, right? And then it's sad, and sometimes you have to let those relationships go because you have a new partner, maybe, and you respect your new partner that much, even though it hurts you. But every dynamic is different. I've also dated people who I don't want to say I've allowed, because I don't like that word, but I've dated people who have had female friendships with people they've slept with, they've made out with, whatever, and I haven't had a problem. So I think it really just depends on the people involved and their maturity levels. I also think as we get older, dynamics change. Some people are co-parenting. Every situation's different.
If you,
I think,
go ahead.
I'll be quick. I think that, like what Laura was saying, you had to let go. The idea is that we want to have as many people around us as we can, right? Just practically speaking. And so it's going to be important to try and maintain these relationships on some level, right? So,
I mean, it comes down to a communication, meaning how advanced is your communication? How much awareness or mindfulness can you bring into that relationship to raise, that other person's consciousness? But the thing is anger. So this app is like a good testing ground for why people get angry. Why do you get angry? Why are people road raging? Like, what are you stressed out about? Where's your faith? Or, meaning that you can use this app for social science experiments and for personal exploration or personal development, self-development. And just not a lot of people have conversational development. And people who sit at the poker table play a ton of poker. There's just, when you do something thousands of times, it's no longer you doing it. It's like the thing doing itself. So,
Just practically speaking.
That was base.
What was it based on?
Doge, you sounded like you were saying, like, hey, yo, you should totally move on and have new relationships and blah, blah, blah. But it sounds like you're also believing that all there exists is the present, and you just gotta be mindful and aware and enlightened and stuff. I feel like there's a tension between the two because, you know, if there's just the present and you can just be enlightened, why can't you just be friends with your ex? Like, why? I don't know.
the problem is, it's when you're with a woman, you're no longer just like, you become a different being, especially in sexual embrace. You can literally look at yoga poses during sex and say, okay, that's the Star of David. So there's like this merging of consciousness, which really gets deep into your dopamine, your neurons, your axons, your dendrites. It's that sexual encounter is super close to the baseness of God. So what I'm saying is that withdrawal is essentially like Clubhouse, where you're not getting your dopamine. So there's this huge withdrawal, chemical withdrawal at the subconscious conscious level that you can't let go. The only way to replace it is with more sexual experiences that create more massive amounts of dopamine. Now, Phoenix may be doing a lot of X crosses because he's a gay bookseller in Mecca, but this is from a Western perspective about sex magic, about orgasm, about Ein Sof, about psychology, philosophy, relationships, brain science, just, everything under the sun. I mean, sex is a very important topic, and it shouldn't be disregarded as, I'm trying to keep it kosher and holy because it's that important.
Well, I feel like
It's interesting, right? Yeah, go ahead, Deepak.
Well, it seems like there's a bit of a performative contradiction in what Doge is talking about, right? Because on the one hand, he tells us like we should move on from our exes, never look back, and so on. But on the other hand, he clearly went through a pretty bad breakup in 2020, and here he is, 2024, 2025, back again with the same person, right? Same stuff happening again, like.
I feel like he's trolling a little bit, and I was warned that he does record rooms for his YouTube thing. I'm not outing you, because if I was scared, I would have left already. But I'm not scared of being recorded because everything I say is like truthful and honest and pure. So yeah.
Well, I mean, people repeat their patterns. I'm just merely injecting my opinion into this Gestalt conversation that Sam has organized. And technically, you could say that they're conversational micro insults.
Look, I'm just saying that, like, you can have either view, right? But, like, it just seems like you're the one with the battered wife syndrome, right? Like, I hope no one finds that term offensive, but, like, here you are back with the same person, and there's even talk about keeping that person around, like, forever. I mean, pretty crazy.
That's the thing, is when you go through a withdrawal from a woman, you got to understand that's essentially your lack of enlightenment now, because what you really want to work on is your personal enlightenment, and the relationship stuff should be secondary, meaning that you're still in a withdrawal from the blessed union, because in Zohar it says only where a man and a woman are united or connected will the blessed presence of the blessed holy ancient one be. So the concept is, now that you're out of that union or that relationship, you want to get back into that union. It's the whole thing about Adam and Eve and the rib, and how this whole union wants to take place. I mean, but that's the unique secret about the Shabbos, is you can unite with what's called Shekhinah. You don't need a beautiful punani and some great girl named Sarah to do it for you. It's basically go within. It's the same type of ecstasy. But then once you master that, then you can go back out and get some new tail, and you'll be like, why was I so depressed? This new tail is amazing.
No, but the point is, you didn't go out and get some new tail. You're back to the same one. Right?
I'm just saying everyone wants to get back into union. That's if you're feeling sad or depressed or have anxiety, it's because you don't have the union. So you want to get back into the union. Everybody wants it.
Well,
What does
how does he
Shekhinah
talk
mean
about breaking up the union?
in Hebrew and Arabic? What does Shekhinah
It's the
mean?
feminine presence of the deity.
No, it means tranquility.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mecca.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to do with anything you said, but
Yeah,
yeah,
okay, I'm just making it all up. Never mind. Disregard me, everyone. I'm just Donald Trump looking at a pentagram with horns behind a moon. My name is Doge. I am complete.
You know, you have to give yourself to enlightenment and get rid of your ego, transcend the self. But also, if the girl you used to have sex with is around, then all bets are off, and you should just run away and be scared little baby, and don't even process your emotions, and just like be totally at the whim of your like passions and sadness.
I'm just saying, if you read sacred scripture, if anybody's depressed, you have to change the words that are coming out of your mouth, because what the words are that you're using reflect your depression, your anxiety, your suffering. If you auto-program by reading a good book, reading sacred text, you're basically hypnotizing yourself and doing neurolinguistic programming or dialectic therapy. That's all I'm saying.
I'm actually a big, quite an expert in NLP myself.
So what that says is that we can actually program our brains, trick our brains, or overcome our irrational thinking, which is generally all or nothing thinking. So I'm just saying that's the power of books, is you can literally enlighten your consciousness and save yourself and make yourself happy again and go out and be productive and be a conqueror and, achieve and be happy.
yeah, but there is this side of books that is really evil and dark.
Yeah, if you read terrible things, but I mean, if you read Psalms or you read Ecclesiastes, I mean, I was reading tremendous, poetry, which is a psalm to Jehovah, saying, "Jehovah, save me, please." Like it's a program, meaning that it's a humbling thing, but it's a wisdom thing. Wisdom is the thing that will free you. It's the Jah or the liberation or the that's the whole thing, is liberation. How do you liberate yourself from these thoughts, which are reoccurring and holding you back from progressing? It's being light on your feet, which means letting go of your thoughts. The thoughts are what's holding you down and keeping you from change and movement and creating force. You need to change your communication, which is your pay or your tongue or your lips. Start using the words that are going to change the future now.
That based. Yeah, there is this kind of like, I know some people who read books and they are not happy, right? They think, or at least they think that they are not happy. It's about like reading books is not always good, so it's about picking the good books that will enhance your well-being. The books that are actually bad for your well-being, it kind of like program you to be in a certain way that you don't want to be.
It's a dialect.
I was going to agree. Yeah, I think finding the right kind of books to read makes all the difference. People usually recommend I don't know, like War and Peace and Finnegan's Wake and all that gay stuff, right? But I find that harem literature, right, is the optimal genre to really help you self-actualize, right? Stories of a guy trapped in a separate universe, in a new universe where he uses his skills and talents to acquire a bevy of hot women surrounding him who he's having sex with all the time. That sort of traditional hero journey kind of literature is great for self-development. I see Danny agrees.
Okay. That was a journey actually listening to.
Yeah, I have the Psalms and I was reading it today. I mean, the metaphor is that you're a cup, and that the fluid in your cup is your emotional state of mind. And so, if you put more words or large language modeling, like the Psalms, for example, and you put that into your cup, it's going to create an elixir or an alchemy and create gold and silver and give you the joy of now. I mean, it's like this. That's my compression opinion.
What if the now is like a shady now? Like the now that you stub your toe? Like, it seems like that's not the kind of now you want to dwell on or be in.
I know, but all you can do is just force more words into your cup. I don't have any other better solutions than that.
Stoics argue. Stoics say
Yeah, the act of rejection.
out pain, but that if you experience it, you should savor that sensation for all that reality wishes to teach you.
For stubbing your toe?
Be one with the universe, Daniel. This is what the world wants for you.
I don't want that now, dude. I want like after, or we're not having ice cream or something.
Daniel, we both know that if you really didn't want your toe stubbed, you wouldn't have stubbed your toe. This is you and the universe working in concert to bring you the sensation you were after.
But see, this is where it can be funny, but it's also therapeutic for people who are road ragers and are chronically angry. If they could achieve enlightenment in the now, it would be a big help to their problem, which is their chronic anger. And if your now sucks and your environment sucks and you're poor and everything is terrible, I mean, this isn't a very pleasant sounding philosophy to be one with the universe but again, I mean, all you can do is accept personal responsibility and try to change and be more productive and optimize. And thus, why philosophy is a useful tool in personal self optimization for a better outcome in the future now.
Actually, there's a saying that goes, like, in Islamic context, that an Orthodox Muslim will criticize everything, a Sufi is going to compliment everything. So if there is a now, you criticize it, then you will be critical about it. But when you compliment it, you will be okay with it.
Well, this is why atheists on this app are essentially the green eggs and ham, where Dr. Seuss says, I hate it, I don't want to eat it. And then he says, fine, I'll try it. And he says, oh my God, I like it. So a lot of angry people on this app who are atheists, and you hear them yelling and barking all the time, they refuse to do any dialectical neuro-linguistic programming or therapy. They don't read Psalms. They don't read anything. They come on here and just complain to a bunch of, theists from whatever division. But I'm just telling you, if you don't do any neuro-linguistic programming or dialectical therapy, you're going to be in a constant state of, not everybody, but I'm just saying, if you take note and you observe people who road rage and get very angry and emotional on this app, I think they have a lack of wisdom or philosophy integrated into their consciousness, or a lack of morals even.
I think there is this kind of persuasion to criticize things instead of complimenting it in order for you to understand it, right? People who are having a romantic view of reality tend to be more or less safe, and people who have more critical thinking and more anxiety and about stuff, they tend to survive. This is kind of like the root of it.
Well, atheism is a part of religion.
Well, I mean,
atheism is a response to religion, right? It is criticism to religion.
Right, they hold each other in balance. Each religion has its group of atheists.
Yeah, I think I read something that the reason why God didn't punish the golden calf worshippers was because they were faking it. So therefore, God faked the punishment.
Well, he didn't kill everyone. He made the magic gold powder elixir that'll kill you only if you're guilty.
So how do you view micro insults on this app? I mean, I feel like a good thrashing and a good trolling and a good barbecue roast is more fun than just micro insults. But, maybe micro insults are. I mean, microaggressions.
If you micro insult me, I'll kill you.
Microaggressions have been causing problems in the workplace, in society for quite a long time. And so, how do you actually deal with micro insults? Because you hear them all the time, and many times they're so subtle and so obnoxious, and you can still identify them, but they're still annoying. But how do you get to the point where everything just flows right off you, like nothing sticks to you, and you're the Teflon Don?
Be silent and listen. If someone's using the micro insults, it indicates a few things. It indicates they're trying to enter an emotional component of the conversation, right? They're also making this point, but they feel the need to take an emotional swipe. It could be they're baiting you. Could be you said something that ticked them off and they're trying to sneak in a response that you won't be able to get to. It's rhetoric.
So, but the listening is the big thing. So even if you're in a loving relationship with a woman who chronically gives you micro insults, the best way to overcome micro insults is to really listen even more, because in your silence, that person giving you the micro insults realizes their own stupidity and they kind of feel a little, humiliated or shamed by what they're doing.
Simple, boring, true, philosophical, and Zen answer to handling rhetoric and linguistics and insults is always silence. You always get more than you put into it. You just got to actually commit.
That's why I'm staying on mute.
So the silence is the no thing then. I mean, so God is the nameless name. Thus, when you go silent, you reclaim the position of power in the micro insult communication circuit.
Yeah, because meaning the micro insult is meant to get you away from a place of silence where you can actually listen and comprehend. Usually, it's some tactic to confuse you or hide the point, whether they're angry at you or they don't want you to know what they're saying. It's just a tactic, which is why if you just listen, you can see that they want something out of it, which is weird. It's much more fun to find out what that is.
It seems like you have to be looking really hard to find these micro insults. Otherwise, they'll be macro insult.
You could call them Solomon tests or shit
Only
tests.
if you're a dumb piece of shit.
Well, they are small. Not like we're saying they're big. But surely we can find a way to just either ignore them or not look.
Aren't going to notice these subtle microaggressions.
I assume by micro insults you're talking about what people usually refer to as microaggressions. Is there a difference, or?
I think Doge has a good point, though, because I think people give me microaggressions. This is my first contribution to the conversation that's not trolling, so I'll accept my congratulations later. But people give me micro insults every day. And, if you work with young people, I work professionally with young people in various capacities, and younger people have less tact, because tact is a skill, and the ability to be impeccable with your word is a skill that's developed over time. And when people give me microaggressions, 99% of the time, when I am well resourced, I am able to let it roll off like water off a duck's back. 1% of the time, I have a meltdown on Clown House, and you should consider yourself lucky to have experienced them.
Presuming that micro insults and microaggressions mean the same thing, my view has always been that
they do.
Sorry.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think they do. I think micro insults and microaggressions are basically the same thing. Are they not?
I don't know. It's up to the person who created the room.
Microaggressions are the same as micro insults, but it's usually in the context of racial discourse, and also it often involves things that aren't just verbal. Like a microaggression could be I don't know, not inviting me or some shit like that. When I'm using the term micro insults, I mean just the thing where it's oh yeah, it's you're a redhead, but I really like your opinion. There's as if being a redhead would make me less likely to have a good opinion or something like that. Verbally putting you down while pretending you're not.
So you're saying that is an example of a microaggression and not a micro insult, or?
Oh, no, okay. Micro insults are a subset of microaggressions.
That
So you
happens
mean like a backhanded compliment?
No, it doesn't have to be a direct compliment. Like earlier today, when Venus was like, "Oh, you're install sprinklers, but I still want to hear your views on philosophy." He was like trying to humiliate you in a like subtle way.
Yeah, but why? Yeah, but like, why would it? I don't know. I don't find that humiliating.
I agree, it's not humiliating, but that's what he was trying to do, even if it doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but black people are offended when you call them articulate. So you probably, if somebody called you articulate, you probably would take it as a compliment. You know, if somebody said move out of your seat, you probably would say, oh, am I in the wrong seat? Oh, my bad. Okay, sure. You probably wouldn't say, move out of my seat, I'll kill you. But the thing is, if you are very sensitive and you're insecure and you want to fight, then the microaggression, like you're a dumb redhead or something, would hurt more.
So the example you gave I don't think is what people think of when they think of microaggression, because in that case it sounds like Venus pretty clearly knows what he's doing, right? That his part of the intent of his statement is to insult or to hurt, right? And usually people think of microaggressions as like not intentional, right? The intent is not to insult, but it comes out that way anyway, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good to distinguish. There's a whole discourse around microaggressions that has its own like whatever logic and blah 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 blah. So I think it's useful to just say, hey, micro insults are just when you intend to hurt someone's feelings by putting a little parenthetical insult within your sentence that is that is subtle enough that it's hard to call out.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think there's tremendous value in that. You know, I think it's like a part of good, like funny rhetorical discourse, right? Like, somehow I feel like it's funnier and more palatable, right? For your insult to be couched that way than like directly saying like you're an idiot, you know.
Well, have you ever said something where in hindsight you said, shit, I wish I would have just kept my mouth shut and not said anything in the beginning or at all in that whole encounter, and I bet you the price would have been different in the outcome?
Like, I get my view about microaggressions and so on, like, is I kind of agree with a lot of the discourse around it, I guess, but like, I just think we shouldn't be institutionalizing, if that's the right word, right? Like, these are like it's a problem at a personal level, right? We shouldn't raise it to like some kind of like, you know, there's an institution of microaggressions, right? Racial and so on, which is comparable to say like systemic like racism and so on. I think these are like two very different things, like, right? And should be two very different kinds of problems that we should have like solutions that are very different kinds.
Well,
like, it should be handled maybe.
Well, according to wokeness doctrine,
the other is a completely interpersonal, or mostly an interpersonal issue.
According to many woke people, microaggressions are a way that systemic racism is enforced. So they would say that microaggressions are a part of systemic racism.
Yeah, I really disagree with that. That's exactly what
Well, I really agree with you. But of course, you and I disagree with contemporary wokeness.
See, if you're a gaslighter, I mean, you are essentially not even just a troll. It's like if you can make somebody angry, you can make them you can make them your slave. I mean, at least in the digital realm. In the real world, I mean, how do you know, Deepak, yesterday we were going on about the Muslims, and so how do you view Islamic or Islamist politicians who might come to America and then claim that you are Islamophobic and that you are a racist troll and a bigot, but yet they've obtained the power that you wanted or you should have had? I'm just saying that communication, that game, there's so many subtle ways to play it, to overcome, to flip-flop, to succeed in the communication that sometimes it does require trolls and comedians to essentially reframe really bad ideas or bad cultural influences that are taking control.
Right, to some degree, what the micro insult indicates is that they're bored with you and the conversation, and they're playing to the audience for some laughs. And to some degree, what we're saying is that it's not about the content of what you put out there. It's whether you captivate the audience. Because this is, in reality, communication. Just a bunch of humans relating to each other. And that only works if there's engagement. So if I'm like bored with you, I'll just slide in a little snub to play to my fans. Then it's back to a game.
I mean, it's a game of trickery, meaning how, like Uncle Steve has his show all the time. I like to call it, How Angry Can I Make Uncle Steve? Because when somebody is conducting, uh, a milieu or an experiment like this, and they're the ones chronically getting angry about people on their stage, and they kick them to the goo, and it becomes like an experiment. And why are you getting angry on a social audio app that you're putting a room together? Why are you your own worst enemy? Why are you raising your blood pressure? Why are you screaming? Why are you letting people get it? Why are you doing this to yourself? I don't understand why people are sadomasochistic like that, but that's what's happening. And it's not just here on this app, it's in the real world at all corporations, all government agencies. There are really crazy people out there that are their own worst enemy, and I don't know why they do it to themselves, but they do.
Usually it's a habit. They've already been subjected to this kind of treatment, and this feels comfortable for them. They know how to navigate it.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a hypothesis. So I like making people laugh, and so I'm just like always trying to practice, trying to be funnier and funnier, because it gives me a little reward every time I make someone giggle. So people will say like, "Oh, Sam, you're funny. How'd you do it?" It's like, "Oh yeah, for the last 36 years of my life, I've been trying by hook or by crook to make people laugh, and I found this is what works. And it's taken me years to develop this." So when it comes to someone that does lots of microbullying, they get a little boost of like dopamine or whatever whenever they like subtly put someone down. So they just had years of practicing, like, how can I do this in this, like, how can I get away with this? How can I like put this person down and get this dominance here, like get away with it? And they've honed it for years and years and years because they enjoy it so much. And at a certain point, it's going to be hard for them to even turn it off. Like if
I know exactly what you mean.
If you're like, "Hey Sam, stop being silly," it's like, yo, I don't even like. It's just ingrained in my personality at this point that I like want to make people laugh. Like, so
right.
It's like with these bullies, like
Harry, and try and be a serious actor. See if the world lets you.
So yeah, like I don't know. It's kind of like on one hand, they should fucking obviously stop because it's a fucking ridiculous thing to do. But like on the other hand, like I don't have high hopes that they will, given how much it's just like years of habit and practice, you know?
Right, you gotta know the measure of the person. If this is like part of his personality, it's how he lives, it's what he does, you shouldn't expect any change, just anticipate how you can best navigate around it, knowing your psychological proclivities.
But it doesn't it go back to silence, where if you're comfortable with silence or not responding, and you're comfortable with other people being uncomfortable with your comfortability in the silence, I mean, isn't that essentially how you get past cynicism or being, making negative comments all the time?
Yeah, that would be a good middle point, because like if he tries to engage at like the level of healthy discourse, he's likely to just fall back into his trope. But if he stays silent and he listens and he pays attention to the effect that the discourse has on him, the effect it has on the person using it, then he'll come to realize what he can say. He'll be freed from his silence. But yeah, I would guess best place to figure out what to say is to say nothing for a while.
Dude, the moment you start getting pissed off on this app, for me, it's like, all right, it's time for a break, dude. There's just something that's pathological about the idea that I would get pissed off on this app, and an indication that I'm attached to it in some way that's just like pathological. And that's not that doesn't seem like a very complicated issue.
Yeah. I think that, Deepak, you were saying this thing about how, like, oh, we should maybe not deal with, okay, I think you're kind of implying that this is like a personal matter and maybe we shouldn't have, like, reify it and have norms around it. I think this is, like, wrong. I think generally we should, like, it would be good if in the future there was no even microbullying, that people were just nice to each other. And that, like, the more we talk about it and put sunlight on it, the less likely it is to happen. And then so like, of course, it's not at the level of systemic racism or anything like crazy like that, but like, I just think that the thing of like, oh my god, kids these days, they're so fragile. It's like, yo, no, they're just like, they have healthier norms. They just like don't hurt each other as much. Like, that's good.
Right. No, actually,
I agree with that.
Wait,
Just
can I respond?
have
Can I respond to that? Can I respond to that? It was addressed to me. Like, I think I completely agree. I mean, like, what I meant was, I wasn't saying that it shouldn't be reified or we shouldn't have norms around it. I super think we should, and I do agree that like modern norms, like what the norms that the kids have are on average better, right? But I'm just saying, like, I don't think the way we enforce those norms should be like through any sort of legal or like formal institutional means, right? Like, which is true of a lot of the things we think morally, like a lot of the moral norms we do want to be true, we don't think should be enforced legally, right? We think they should be enforced socially. So I think that's all I was trying to say. Like, these should be like social norms
Happen.
enforced through those mechanisms rather than legal or like even like things like not just legal, but like having like large corporate structures like saying like we're going to police microaggressions in our employees. I think is the wrong way to go.
I think that people have a lot of mood swings in this app is because a lot of people find like-minded people here more than in real life. So in real life, I don't think someone who is interested in philosophy will find a lot of people who are interested in that, then delving deep into the conversations. In Clubhouse, there's this thing, so people will find like-minded people and will connect to them and will actually have like long periods of time with interacting with them, and that they kind of can have mood swings with them, and these mood swings will happen, and people will notice, especially that you will notice emotions with vocal chatting, invoking more than type kind of chatting.
Is this an ESL room? Sorry, Phoenix, I could barely understand what you just said.
No, it's not. And don't be rude. The thing I wanted to say is just that, like,
I could barely understand what you just said.
It's good to be resilient. That's like a good character trait. But at the same time, like, it's good that we reduce the level of aggression. And I don't know exactly how to balance these. But like,
Can I share a story
no,
briefly?
you may nods. So, I like, it's good that there's less violence, that people are fighting each other less. But I also don't want people to be weak and to be cowards.
Do you not want me?
No, I don't want you to interrupt me. Obviously, what I want is you not to interrupt me.
Can I interrupt you though?
Yes, you may.
Chill, Kitover. Chill, Kitover.
But Mike Zed definitely can interrupt Sam. Now, whether he should or may is really up to Sam.
So, are you not aware that the way you're speaking to me is like kind of a microaggression, pretty rude?
I have a rule in my room to not interrupt people, and so
Now
when you
get
start talking in the middle,
boy.
of my sentence. Yes, you're
Yeah, I
breaking
was
the rule.
just respectfully asking if I could participate.
The answer is always no.
Oh, okay. So you're a hypocrite.
And in case you're wondering, Megzed is allowed to do so because he's Jewish.
No, because I'm funny.
Well, then why does it work for me?
Like, I was in the middle of saying, oh, I don't know how to balance, like, lowering...
Yeah, you made that point already. We heard you make that point already. You made it already. We heard that point already.
I wasn't done elaborating on the point.
All right, you're clearly a fucking piece of shit asshole. You go on talking about how people need to be nice, and then I come into your room trying to participate in the discussion, and you act like a total fucking brat.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, you're a hypocrite. You're a fucking piece of shit. You're projecting. You're talking about how you want people to...
Oh, bye. Bye.
Oh my god, but it's fun.
At least he didn't choke hold you.
Bye.
Sam, you have to agree that's...
No, I just don't want to be interrupted. It's a simple rule in my fucking house. Just don't interrupt it. It's not hard.
It's not the part that's funny.
Yeah, that's not the part that's funny. That's true. I mean, I wouldn't call what happened like a microaggression or a macroaggression, more like a mesoaggression.
Oh, he's really just interrupting for the joke.
Okay.
See, if you crash out and you get angry at a mod or somebody in a room, it really is a you problem. And you know, I just view if somebody wants to kick me from the room, I just go to the next room or stop using the app. But to get angry with somebody on this app, it causes more harm to me, and it's bad. It's a bad idea for me to get angry. It just does not serve me. So I don't know why people I know people are doing it because they want to create the dopamine, but at the same time, why do you want to feel bad or get angry? It's like just move on. I mean, you know, create and be the maker, but don't create anger and rage in yourself. It doesn't serve the self. It's a pointless thing to do for oneself.
Yeah, but it's powerful. There's a reason people like rage.
There's a thing called righteous indignation.
Oh, that's the best stuff.
So,
Well,
and also, it's part of just like the range of human experience, man.
I know, but I'm talking about just in
Like,
the
people get mad.
recent couple minutes with Zach getting angry with Sam. Like, I think it's because Zach wants to be heard and he wants to have a relationship, but at the same time, I mean, it's ineffective communication on on his behalf. I mean, I've been in enough of Sam's rooms to know that he doesn't like being interrupted, or he wants consistent speech and real communication, not people talking over each other and wasting everybody's time.
There is a lot of time wasting that happens as a result of this rule, but
No, but I mean, I like even in a room where interruptions are allowed, right? Like this kind of what he did was like, especially multiple times, kind of BS. Right? He just randomly interjected whenever he felt like.
Oh, listen, guys, he's already booted. We don't need to quibble over whether or not Sam's actions were justified. Which is the point I was trying to make about this space of Clubhouse. There is no fairness here. There's just the guys with the green buttons and the other ones affected by them.
How very it's very postmodern, all there is power.
No, listen.
Morality is nothing. We just have to analyze.
Well,
Guys.
There's a reason you keep trying to be the one to start the room, Sid. Let's be honest here.
It's true. Starting the room is a power play that you were moving, and you started this room with an insult to Venus to respond to his dominance over you in the other room. Point being, Clubhouse, right? Think of this as the realpolitik of Clubhouse. This is not society. This is not how people interact with each other. Definitely not with strangers. What this is a game. And the ones that hold the power are the green button folk. And that's just true. They can shape any of the conversations. Their largesse allows the discourse.
You get a green button, Sam. You're making me want one room.
So, okay, I don't give a fuck about the power. All I want is no interruption rule. Everything else I don't give a fuck about. Just hate it so much.
Having a meeting with the Trump administration.
You gotta have some interruption. That's part of what makes an interesting conversation.
I have two rules: get to a point quickly and no interruptions. If you get to the point quickly, the conversation's fine. There are babblers who I just won't invite on stage that will just go on and on and on and take advantage of it. And there are some people that really they get close. They they take advantage of my rule. But I don't know. On the whole, I love that I can just say stuff.
This is a great experiment.
The point is, you don't have to be an absolutist about the rule. Is kind of the point. I get it, but you don't have to have rules like that. You're just the mod. You can tell people to shut the fuck up whenever you want to.
But see, this is an experiment for the green bean primarily, meaning that with enough simulations, you would realize how ridiculous it is to get angry, even as the creator of the room. I mean, in many ways, you should just let it devolve into absolute chaos and let it shake itself out and not let it personally impact you, because what you're listening to through your ears is causing an emotional response within you, even as the creator of the room. So the secret is in figuring out, why am I emotionally reacting to all these sounds that are coming out of my phone? Isn't this crazy to get emotionally upset over what I'm listening to on an app that I'm opting into to communicate in?
I don't call it green bean, I call it a green asshole.
Yeah. The green balloon nut.
I'm not saying let it devolve into chaos. I think you should control the environment, and you should control what you're listening to. I think that's like a fundamental principle of wisdom is control what you're putting inside your ears, and therefore your output will be better.
I sort of don't mind getting angry, and maybe this is just a difference amongst people, where like I don't often get a chance to insult people because I don't like being mean, and I don't often get a chance to be aggressive. But if you were starting insulting me, then I get to be mean. You've given me a green light to like open up an animalistic side of myself and like be aggressive that I don't allow myself to indulge in 99.9% of the time. So there's a sense in which I don't mind it.
But
Yeah, that's why you're doing it.
if you want to be cruel, though, you should frame it as a roast and a comedy show. Like you can get away with it then, I think, and maintain your
Yeah,
reputation.
that's a feedback loop. You get confirmation each time that the crowd is enjoying what you're doing with the laughter. That's why they do it. They're being mean.
You have to be more aloof.
Do I? I think I just gotta stay black and die. You know what I'm saying?
Is that a racist thing you just said? Because I didn't quite know.
There's a quote. There's a movie called Lean on Me, and the guy's a black superintendent says to a black principal, "You've got to do like X, Y, and Z," and then the black principal says, "I don't have to do anything except stay black and die," and it's just a funny statement. It's not racist as much as it is absurd.
But isn't that person making an all or nothing statement about being black? Like that's all I have to do, meaning that I'm already perfect. Therefore,
No, he's saying it's inevitable.
But I know, but Sully was asking you if it was a racist, joke.
Axing.
So I don't know if you know what Zen is, but it's essentially a conversational micro insult game of like subversive communication. It's like who can be more Zen?
Why is that?
Oh, the chat is demanding that you give mods before.
Please don't. Oh my god.
Meaning that Zen is essentially like religious one-upmanship. And so amongst all the different religions and the atheists, you have this like whole game of like subversive one-upmanship of communication and power. And thus why, creating rooms on this app is an interesting analysis of really subversive one-upmanship through words, through debate, through rhetoric, through projection, through comedy, through, whatever game you think this is. If you want to win it, in many ways you have to be super subversive by not one-upping or by it's a song that never ends. But what I'm saying is that the game of one-upmanship through words is basically the song that never ends.
See, that's what I like. I find it to be a fun puzzle,
I agree. When I go to the casino and I see people playing the slot machine, which is essentially a blown up cell phone that they're paying to use, and they're just creating dopamine by looking at a screen, I say, why wouldn't they rather go on like a social audio chat debate app and have conversations and create dopamine for free as opposed to like going to a casino and giving your money to a slot machine?
Because there's real people there. Also, those machines are fun. Like, there's this arcade in the mall that has Subway Surfer, and like it's free. You don't have to put any money in it. It's just like constantly running, at least to some degree. And like I have it on the phone, but it's fun to have it with that giant screen. And that's just the lights and the doodad that brings you in, and then you get a drink. You talk next to your seatmate. It's socializing. It's like hanging out in grandma's basement and playing all the games with the kids in the neighborhood. With free drinks. And no children, just adults.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying I like to conserve my money. I'm cheap at the moment.
Have you guys ever played a game called Silent Scope? Like an arcade.
Did you say Silent Goat?
Silent Scope. It's like a sniper. Like a
Silent Scope. Yeah. The sniper game.
See, if I could own any kind of arcade stand-up video game, it would be that one. That game is sick.
Yeah, they have cool stand-up stuff because they're always innovating with like what kind of lights and gizmos will excite people.
So amongst religious people or theologians, what are some like conversational micro insults that you've observed amongst people in religious debate or theological debate or political debate, whatever kind of debate?
I don't know, I guess getting close to heresies.
Yeah, when they bring unicorns and Harry Potter into the conversation, then it's becoming interesting.
Or like when Sam shows up to debate the Muslims and just like right out the gate is like, you would have to be fucking stupid to believe in this.
Sometimes I play a more respectful tone of like, hey, so like, why does it say that in the Quran this, but not that? Those other times I'm just like, bro, you follow a guy who says he gets to have more wives than you. Like, what the fuck?
If if Mel Gibson can make a movie, about the Passion and Christ, being martyred and bloodied and all this, like, why isn't there a crazy far out like movie about Muhammad? That's based on the true story, but also, well, I know why, but this is America. It seems that somebody should have taken the time and money to create a blasphemous, heretical movie about Muhammad that swept the world in total anger, but made $1 billion. Like, it's got to be coming.
I remember when South Park was going to show, well, it was kind of funny because they had already previously shown Muhammad, but like it was before Charlie Hebdo and like nobody like was paying any attention at the time. But then after Charlie Hebdo, they were like, we're going to do it again. We're going to show Muhammad. And I remember I was like watching it as it was like first aired, and Comedy Central censored it. And I was like, what?
Because isn't part of enlightenment essentially showing people how ridiculously angry they get over these microaggressions or macroaggressions, meaning that it's part of your therapeutic process to be enraged that someone has created a heretical movie about Muhammad and it's very popular. I mean, it just seems to me like it's part of also making money where...
Yeah, that's the outlet of rage.
Right, unless you can create massive amounts of attention, your commercial product is never going to actually be a big success. It has to draw in the attention and create a mass hypnosis.
You don't have to make that movie, but like, yeah, the people who are reacting to that movie, they're feeling like Sam does when he points out the microaggressions. Oh, finally, rage.
Well, like, so I think one thing to consider is that like Middle Eastern countries have a lot more kind of like economic influence in the West, a lot more sort of like front-facing economic influence in the West nowadays than they used to. Mm-hmm. So they're like I was watching tennis or something, and there were like basically like Saudi Arabian like flag symbols on the wall behind the tennis players and stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of weird, So it's just, it's the same thing with China. It's like, Hollywood doesn't want to piss off China. Hollywood doesn't want to piss off the Middle East, just like economic.
Right. It's weird because like the technology of cinema was unlocked and controlled by entertainers and performers long before people understood the propagandist value of the technology. I mean, like, they understood, but they couldn't implement it nearly as fast as vaudeville. Vaudeville knew what to do with it. So as a result, you have these weird, like, stopgaps of prejudices, stereotypes, of people's understanding as the film industry is, like, growing in subtle awareness of these things. When really, it's just crazy performers trying to get a laugh. But then, like, they have to now become the arbiters of culture. And strictly speaking, they don't really even want the job. They're really annoyed. Because they want, like, a girl to dress up as, like, I don't know. It's like,
Hollywood doesn't want to piss off China.
As Barack Obama.
Hollywood doesn't want to piss off the Middle East.
Because they're just crazy performers and they want to see if it's a good show.
Economic.
But, like, instead they have to contend with whatever crazy politics. Like Snow White being a Latina. No! The horror. Like, production. They don't want any of the politics, but the propagandist power of the cinema is just firmly in their hands.
Well, look at a mind virus, meme virus, meaning that this whole Carmelo Anthony thing and getting stabbed in the heart in the tent, like that, because it's so stupid to sit here and debate it for hours, it's driving people emotionally insane because it's so absurd to sit here and waste all these hours and days talking about an obvious murder.
Yeah, I mean, part of it too, like that economic concern that I pointed to before. You see it with like the fact that they only make sequels and remakes and stuff, right? Like that's just like another sign of like, you know, economic weakness. Basically, they're like, we just want to make things that we know will make money, you know. And so it's like there's a kind of cowardice that's associated with that, and that's like almost one of the, like that kind of cowardice in like within the establishment of like either media or like whatever institutions you want. That's like the reason that people like Trump come into power, basically, is because, you know, everybody's too scared to do anything interesting, and then some fucking crazy asshole comes along breaking the mold, and they're like, oh wow, you know, this is novel. Yeah.
Right. If the voice of the people veers towards silence, like the safe middle path, it's really just paving the way for demagogue for the certain topics that it is too afraid to address. And that's what I'm saying, like, they should be afraid. They have no fucking clue what they're doing. They're a bunch of entertainers.
Really what we need is a Kwisatz Haderach to show us the way.
Yeah, his name is Donald Trump.
Right.
Sully, I like you quoting Dune.
When did I quote you?
When I was like, you might be afraid that I'm the one. You've been waiting.
Yeah.
You've been waiting these years praying to your mother.
Dude, I want to just like memorize that whole speech in like the Fremen language.
That'd be legit, sir.
That movie was absolutely like insane in the theater, especially that scene.
Incredible.
Like, they did a great job with the character of like, okay, at the beginning he's like very believably like young, you know, and then like by the time you from the first movie, and then by the time you get to that part, it's like, damn.
There's like 3 movies that me and my wife have seen in the last 4 or 5 years. Like, both the Dune movies and Matrix Resurrections. And I liked all.
How was the Matrix? Yeah, you like?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it certainly had a weaker second half, but I mean, yeah.
So what do those movies deal with, though? They deal with the presence, meaning that how do you create a flow state, essentially? How do you achieve power or use words to achieve power? Because if you can kill with a word and you can give life or death with your tongue, the question is, why are so many people so irascible and so ridiculous with their words? I mean, it's just, you know, good thoughts, good outcomes.
The David Lynch movie, the whole like killing with a word thing, or like the, you know, how they have like the sound weapons or whatever. That's only in that movie. It's like not in the book. Or
wait, they do have the voice in the book, right?
They have the voice, but they don't have the weirding modules.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But see, you get David Lynch was into TM and transcendental meditation. I read Jerry Seinfeld's book called This Is It, and all these people are into transcendental meditation, which is essentially just repeating a mantra over and over again to where you override your automatic response. I mean, so you basically transcend self and go into a wordless, nameless, soundless state where you're no longer thinking. And so that's like meditation. And that's what, you know, David Lynch, and that's what these movies deal with, is how do you create a gnosis or a unity with the presence to achieve, you know, your objectives, or to create a force.
Well,
yeah, I don't think that's what the movies are about at all. I mean,
it's prescience, which is like he can see the future. That's basically like what Paul Atreides' power.
No, his power. he had a tremendous power. He had basically the spirit within him that gave him. Yeah, what I'm saying is, if Deepak, if you don't think that's what those movies are about, that's what those movies are about. It's essentially about X Factor or Holy Spirit.
I have a question for Joe.
Okay, can I just respond? I mean, obviously that is a thing that happens in those movies. I mean, I suppose you could include The Matrix too, but I guess you're talking about Dune. But that's not what they're about, right? Like, they're about, like, if there's one theme that it's about like the danger of, like, demagoguery and things like that, right? Like violence and like of not a fart, what's called like a jihad, right? All those kind of things. It's mostly political, and also like in the book itself, like what's his name? Like not Brian Herbert, the other Frank Herbert. Like the other theme he really focused on in the book was like ecology, which I don't think the movies do a good job of translating, but that's fine.
Well, look at that one scene with the juice of Safu. Thoughts give rise to speed, and the juice of Safu quote from Dune. I'm just saying that a lot of this is like Kundalini work, which is yogi work.
I feel like you're doing
Phoenix
this to me on purpose, though. You're like specifically pointing to things that are like only in the David Lynch book.
But the whole thing with Matrix 2 is Neo becoming essentially the Mashiach or the Mahdi, meaning that he's able to transcend and manipulate the code itself. Thus, he is, the chosen one, or you could say an extension of God.
Yeah, but that narrative clearly ran out of steam after the first movie.
I feel like it's not so much the narrative. Like, I feel like they had good ideas, they just executed really poorly and or relatively poorly in the second one.
No, their overall meta fight of the architect planning the whole thing, first of all, invalidated all of the fun of the first one. Second, in the end, it was just a big robot brawl. Right? That was their ultimate transcendental end. And what was the robot brawl? A robot brawl of peace, where Neo is fighting in order to lose, strangely, invalidating even the final fight, because as he gets infected by Smith, he frees us all to have liberty within the artificial construct of the Matrix. Somewhat Christian, sure, I grant you, but dumb narratively after the first one. The first one was amazing, with him not sure, told that he isn't, getting killed, he comes back. There's your Christian allegory. Stop the story there. 2 and 3 were garbage, man. Although I will say this, honorable mention, Animatrix was badass. Those were excellent animes.
Yeah, but look, the first couple of things you've talked about was just execution, right? Like robot brawls and so on, and I grant most of that. But I think, look, obviously, the story has to progress from the first one, right? Like, if you're going to make a second movie and a third movie, just like you're going to make a second movie and third movie.
The first movie ended beautifully. It didn't need a sequel.
I mean, no, look, even the first movie never needed to be made, right? Like, no one needed to write, War and Peace and so on, right? Like, the point that the reason the existence of the first movie is just